Pixel 7 leaks and kind of leak culture. Leaks. Yeah. We've already seen the phone.
Yeah.
We have images of it. These aren't leaks. No, it's funny.
There are technically leaks. I mean, there's a couple of them floating around. They've been bricked by Google.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things. I don't want to act like they've got nothing off of it. Like, I saw something the other day about the display type. Like, it's a iteration newer than the Pixel 6 Pro, so it's probably going to look to the exact same to most people.
Yeah.
But I mean, it confirms that there's 120 hertz, but like, yeah, they're not going to walk that back. So, and they're probably not going to be like, let's get 144. Like,
right.
120 is fine.
To the naked eye,
there was one other
120
thing that
saucy.
Something about the brightness or something about it.
Yeah, maybe it gets a little bit more peak brightness, like outdoor brightness. But
yeah, it was.
There's one other thing.
Did you have it in your article? I was going to say, I can't pull it up.
I know I didn't put it in there because I was just like, these things aren't like that big of a deal. Like new things that actually, if you want to pull that article up, the link I put to the actual leak in that they outlined a couple things. But honestly, I was just kind of like, this isn't the point.
Yeah,
that's not the point I was trying to make in the article. It was more along the lines of the fact that, like they did with when they announced Tensor in August last year, and they were like, here are these new phones with Tensor inside. They didn't give us a bunch of details. They just, here's a basic look at the phone, and we're making our own chip. Talk to you in October. Before I go on.
Upgraded haptic feedback solution as well as a new NFC chip.
Yeah. Cool.
See?
Again.
Yeah.
Updated haptic.
Nice.
Okay.
Most people don't care, and almost everyone will not notice.
No.
I mean, let's
like in a different...
The haptics...
The haptics on that phone are
excellent.
Fantastic.
They're so excellent in the Pixel 6 Pro. So I'm like, if you're going to upgrade it, great. But if you left it the exact same, no one would
That's fine, too.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, that's not a thing you need to focus on. That's not a thing.
Right.
And when we start talking about this phone, the Pro, and the Pixel 6 too, to that extent, like, what needs to be, upgraded? Like, what are people really interested in? And so in the article, I really talked about that stuff. So it was like, what do people care a lot about? Well, what's the camera going to do that's going to be new? What new thing are they going to do with the lenses or the machine learning or the algorithms that make the pictures look better? Well, guess what? I don't care what leaked version of the phone you've got. They're going to either brick that phone so you can't use it, or you're going to be sending out stuff and be like, oh, this is what it's doing. And everybody looks at it and goes, well, that's pre-production hardware, pre-production software. Android 13 isn't even out of its beta yet. Like, so... yeah, you showed us that, but it's not really indicative of what it's going to be like.
Right.
And that just ends up being the case for almost everything from a software perspective that you want to know from a phone. Well, how's it perform? What does it matter?
Yeah, because it could be nerfed. It's not finished. And not only that, software gets tweaked along the way. I mean, as good as the camera is on that phone, 2 months from now, it could be better. Google could do an update to the camera. And
so it's like, okay, well, leaks don't tell you that either.
Right.
So what are leaks generally there to get across? It's the hardware. It's like,
what's
it
going
to look like? How many cameras is it going to have?
What's the screen look like? What are the bezels like?
Is it still got a curved display?
Right.
But other than that, there's not much else. Like, we've just gotten to that point with smartphones that it's kind of like, oh, it's going to be super nice hardware. So... yeah. Have you picked up a OnePlus lately?
It's going to be metal and glass.
Have you picked up a Samsung device lately? Have you picked up a Motorola device lately? Have you picked up pick a manufacturer, Huawei, Oppo. Any of them. Yeah. They all make great phones. Yeah. So, that's not a big deal either. And so all of a sudden, Google's like, okay, the big thing people want to see is like a CAD render or whatever, and people are getting cases and like, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, well, there it is. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. Now everybody's just
the wind is gone from the sails. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
and good on them. I mean, I think it's. I mean, it is what it is. So whatever.
And so it feels like they've just done a good job, I think, of deciding to put that stuff out there. And what I hope is that they'll start taking advantage. Like some of the other companies have started doing this a little bit. Like OnePlus did it with. Was it the OnePlus 9 maybe? I don't know. Where they were leaking little things out before, like in the month or so before. They leaked a couple little quick glances of it. Then they leaked some photo samples themselves. They leaked, some of these basic things. Google could absolutely do that. Like, nobody went into this before Google showed the Pixel 7 and thought, are they really going to make a Pixel 7?
Right.
Yeah, they're going to make a Pixel 7. They didn't sell very well all the way through 5. and they kept making them. Yes, they're going to make another Pixel this year. So that's a foregone conclusion. That you're not surprising anybody with that. And so they knew that. They went in and showed the phone off how many months? What, 6 months almost?
6
early?
months, yeah.
I mean, because it's not, it wasn't some mind-blowing revelation for anyone to see this and go, oh, yeah, of course they are. And now it's cool to be like, cool, like it's going to be metal around this part. Right. That's a cool upgrade. But overall, we're keeping the aesthetic. We know it's going to feel nice because it's a Google phone, and most people that make nice phones make good-feeling phone. Like, that's not surprising. So the rest of the question we have around this phone comes down to software and user experience and how good Tensor 2 is going to be versus Tensor 1.
Yeah.
And the little bit of stuff that's leaked around Tensor 2 about some of the same cores or some changing is all a big shrug right now because it's not rolled out on completed software yet. So even if you could get a benchmark of it right now, I'm not going to read anything into that, especially with custom silicon. So it's like there's nothing else to talk about until Google decides they want to talk about it.
Yeah, unless there's some other unknown feature that we're not anticipating or expecting. There's real. It's just like I'm ready for the phone. Yeah. I mean, let's get to August, October.
Yeah, that and the watch, even the watch too. It's almost like you've shown me enough of the watch. The only thing questionable now is the interface, and until you're done and ready to show that off, no one's going to have that. So.
Yeah.
Which is why people are already talking about the Pixel Watch 2.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
That was great.
I mean,
the Pixel Watch 2 is going to be amazing.
I didn't write it.
Wait,
I hope so. I hope you're right, but where did that come from?
And I didn't write the article to be like, oh, leakers and leak culture's worse. Like, I love a good leak.
Absolutely.
Like anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we
It's
just
fun to get hyped about something, yeah.
The 8CX, it's not out. I mean, it's not a leak per se, but same kind of idea. So, I mean, I'm not against it at all. I think Google did the right thing with this and has figured out, we can deflate most of this, like 80% of it or whatever. I think other companies should follow suit. Like Apple, for one, should do the same thing.
Yep.
Like
Apple doesn't need the hype of leaks.
No.
And Google has gotten to a place where they don't. They're doing 2 separate phone families a year.
Robbie's phone's like, you want to talk to me?
What?
No. You love me?
Hey Siri. Did I get you? Oh. So, I mean, they don't need that. Google has their main line, and then they have the A series. There's enough hype around it. The sales of the 6 and the 6 Pro are through the roof. They don't need leaks to build hype, and leaks sometimes can be more detrimental. I mean, who cares about iPhone leaks? We've talked about this.
People still get views and clicks and stuff off of it, but I'm like, is anyone surprised they're making a new iPhone? No. Of course they're making a new iPhone.
Right.
Unless they're coming out with some new hardware thing that they've never done before, that's when people get excited about stuff. And there's just not...
New camera setup or a different type of screen, getting rid of whatever.
Now, granted, it is different with iPhone users because when we've talked about this phenomenon, before on this podcast of once you've become an iPhone user that's locked into the idea that I will only use an iPhone and that's the only thing, you get this whole idea of like, please sir, may I have another? Like whatever Apple gives me, I'm going to be so happy for. And so you're waiting around to see what little thing is going to be the next. And I've said this before, like I've heard people say like, oh, we didn't get this year, but we got this, as if like you're waiting at some pest dispenser for, this corporation to give you a thing. And whatever, that is what it is. And so Apple leaks sometimes can cause a little bit more of a stir, be a little bit more of a clickbaity headline because they got rid of the notch and they made it a hole punch. And Android users are like, so did 50 other companies.
Yeah, because there's so many other options for Android. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, that one minuscule thing, I've been waiting so long and Apple's finally giving it to me. So like that becomes more leak worthy, I think, for that audience.
That reminds me, I need to ask Andrew something. Are voice activated gestures a thing on your phone?
No, they're not.
It's not?
Gestures?
What does that even mean?
I saw a reel.
Voice activated gestures? What does that even mean?
Or commands or something like you can create a custom voice command that will trigger a touch event on the phone.
What?
I'll have to research this some more, but
not that I know of.
Yeah, I saw this, and that he created a voice command, custom voice command, and then he said, "Hey, whatever, do this," and you see the taps on the screen.
Right.
And I'm like, it might not be real, but that'd be look pretty dope if it is.
It'd be cool until somebody else triggered your phone. By accident.
Well, the
Yeah.
weird thing was, and I don't know this even if it is true, I don't know if this is true. What he did was he went through, and so he links the command to a combination of touches. Well, he used the combination of his lock screen. So then when his phone was locked, he would say, "Hey Siri, unlock my phone," and unlock my phone was the voice command. So then it would go do 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 do, and it unlocked the phone hands.
Yeah, I feel like Apple would never let that be a
Whew.
thing.
But
Yeah,
man,
I don't know.
how's
That
even-
will-
The only thing I can think of is if it's like an accessibility where you're mapping the buttons.
Yeah,
and
that's-
then you
yeah.
connect
Yeah.
it to
I
a
can't imagine it would
shortcut
work from a
or
lock
shortcut.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't see it
Apple
working for that.
Apple locks
I'll
everything
look
down.
that up later. I'm very interested.
There's probably an Android app that'll do it though.
Oh yeah,
Like,
there's all kinds of
Go for it.
Yeah.
whatever.
You can do whatever you want. We
it
don't care.
might not be in the Play Store, but there's an app
Exactly.
for it.
So going back to this conversation of Google putting out this phone and kind of squashing leaks and kind of the hype and as Gabe said, some of the kind of negative press that can come from people sharing out
Oh, yeah.
stuff before it's ready and
Yeah, 'cause
talking
Goog-
about something and
Google's had their fair share of that.
oh yeah. So what was that meeting like, I wonder? Like that meeting at Google whenever they were like, let's just
tell
go
them.
ahead and tell them. You just want to go ahead and show them, like, I don't know, like 6 months ahead of time, maybe at I/O.
Why not?
You just want to go ahead and show them the phone. And they were like, let's, like kind of typical startup thing. They're like, that's not a terrible idea. Let's whiteboard it. Like,
Pros and cons.
yeah,
Here we go.
What's
the worst that's
what's,
going to
what's
happen?
the worst
if
that
you
can
show
happen
it?
from this?
What are you going to not sell them because you showed it to them?
Right.
Like who cares?
Right.
And that's when you start looking at it from that perspective, like the whole corporate, like, oh, we got to keep this thing under wraps. Why?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
It was different in the early days of smartphones. Like iteration was happening at such a rapid pace that in a
Right.
year from the time you launched your phone, you came up with 6 new ideas that have
And-
never been in a smartphone
and
before. You got to keep that stuff to
And you
yourself.
had to keep it locked down,
Right.
because if not, competitors were going to be seeing it and
they're going to
taking
grab it, and
Yeah.
they're going to take that, and that's your claim to fame. Maybe that'll make you, I can see these things that Motorola was doing when I was working in the smartphone industry. It was that way. It was cutthroat, but everybody still had a chance at that point.
Right.
Like Apple hadn't completely taken over. Samsung was just starting to get, like I was Samsung Galaxy S2, Galaxy S3, Galaxy S4 time is when I was in this. And so like Motorola was still a huge player. You had Samsung, you had Google's phones just now coming out, you had iPhones, you had LG doing stuff. There were all these different phone makers that were all scratching and clawing to try to get that one thing that they could do that would set them apart from everybody else. And so I understand back then that was a big deal.
Right. And that's the thing, is that Google's now done that. I mean, each phone maker kind of has their thing,
Sure.
and Google has 6 iterations later, not counting Nexus, they've made a phone that, if you go back and look at reviews, is arguably one, if not the best Android phone of the year.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's always,
Samsungs
it's
are
always in the
always-
conversation.
It's always right
Yeah.
there. There are people that say overall, if you take all of these things into consideration, price and everything, it is the best or one of the best. So yeah, I think it's really good marketing on Google's part to just put it out there and say, hey, here it is. Because now they know they have a device that people want the next iteration.
Right, and it's not like, oh, we told them we were making a Pixel 7, no one's going to buy the Pixel 6 now. No, everybody knew you were making a 7. You've put out a new phone every year for 7 years now, coming up on 7 years in October. Like, it's not a shock to anyone. So
And the 5A or 4, whichever, whatever, the A series has proven that the people that buy it's 2 different markets.
Yeah.
I mean, they are not, my mother-in-law, God bless her, has still not bought a new phone, but she said tomorrow she's going to go buy what's Samsung's new A53? Is that their new
Yeah.
mid-range?
She likes Samsungs?
She loves Samsung's.
okay.
That's what she's going to buy.
I was like, tell her to wait for the 6A.
Yeah, I've tried. I mean, I've tried to give her my OnePlus, everything, but I'm like, that's what she wants. She wants a $500 name brand phone, and that's the people that are going to buy the A series Pixel, and then
I want a Pixel. I just
we're
want
going to
it.
buy the Pros and the.
And there'll be a whole separate group of people that waited around and said, okay, the 6 series they've gotten rid of all the bugs.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in on that now at some crazy discount that happens Black Friday or whatever. There's those people too. And then there's the people that are like, I want the latest, greatest. I'll take the bugs and deal with them along the way. And You know,
and that's what this feels like. It feels like a car maker that's been in the business. They've been in the business for a few years now. They've made some really not good cars. They've made some okay cars, and then they've kind of figured it all out, and then they produced their first flagship car.
right.
But you don't buy the car the first year it comes out, not a new iteration.
And clearly this is. It's like it is that way. It's
This,
like
because I mean they've said
they're going to stick with this for a little while.
This is the first true Google phone. The 7 should be
It's just going to be
polished.
a polished
It should be
version
a
of
polished
this.
version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, this isn't a turd.
And what they've
be
tried to do, what they've tried to do with marketing in the past has failed miserably. So I feel like what they're doing now is really, really good.
All right, that's it for this week, folks. We appreciate you all tuning in and listening and watching. If you are watching, make sure to give us a thumbs up if you like this. Click subscribe and click the little notification bell. We'll catch you all next week. See ya.